All right.
Now you're messing with. Now what?
Early W head engine, early small block Chevy, serial 1001 on the small block Chevy. That's pretty cool. Bonneville intake with 8 carburetors, 4 barrel, 2 barrel carburetors. Very, very cool. Yeah, Can-Am Chevy motor. Another AMC show motor, again showing the detailing on it. And Ed Meyer's 427 Can-Am Cobra motor. Just awesome Can-Am car motor. But I'm really digging the fact this thing's got. Check it out. This was for Bonneville. The cast iron manifolds, but this looks like something out of a Pete Millar cartoon. I mean, that is really, really wild. Boss 429. And the $500,000 McLaren motor. Had Steve Outwell brought in this. It wasn't too used in boat racing. Again, great Ford performance here. A couple of cool Mopars. Of course, the very first Chevy cast block ever. So pretty cool. The Can-Am motor was used for boat racing on gasoline, 130 miles an hour. It came out of the Steve Outwell collection. Some rare pieces out of Kramer's deal. Cobbled together cross ram intake for higher RPM use. Head castings. Injector top used on the Goldenrod land speed record. A factory cross section of a hemispherical cylinder head. This one here is one that I used in my Hemi book. Again, that 53.5 degree separation, angle separation between the two valves was the way to get the airflow to work. You can also tell looking at that how well the intake runner flowed and the exhaust valve had a little bit of a dog leg to it, and that was a choke point. And as Pro Stock went on, they went to the D5 development. This was actually a full custom motor in a lot of ways. The real problem was due to the weight of the Hemi piston speed was a real issue, getting it up into the RPM levels that would let it compete with the Cleveland type Fords. And so Chrysler began working on the small block. Midget car, sprint car motor, that's basically half of a 318. This was done during the time that Daimler Chrysler was involved, marketed through direct connection. That's a cast Mopar block, cast Mopar head, Mopar intake manifold. And here is a 1952-53 331 IndyCar test motor. This is how they figured out how the ram air functioning would work. The two guys in the dyno room found out the dyno room filled up with gasoline fumes, and as a result of that, what was happening was that the fuel was coming in, hitting the back of the valve, and coming straight back out into the room. Well, they realized if we took and put a taller stack on that injector, we could actually get it high enough that that air pulse of fuel would come up to here, stay in the tube, and then when that valve opened up again, the ambient signal would suck everything from that previous shot back down against the valve. So it was basically a form of chemical supercharging. For years they held the secret as to what the RPM versus runner length was to actually make that work. But that was why the cross rams were so successful. The long ram. There's a NASCAR with the inverted tunnel ram, which the project didn't work. They actually turned the intake manifold upside down and tried to loop the runners across the lifter valley. They found out from a heat standpoint it was very, very difficult to get the engine to run efficiently, so they stayed with the bathtub intake. The dual four-barrel situation was used in USAC and in ARCA racing. I don't think it was ever fully legalized in NASCAR, but they talked about it. Once Ford had released the Dominators, there was no need for a dual four-barrel carburetor in NASCAR racing. And again, it's a pretty famous motor here. This motor was at the Carlisle event, the first one in 1992. It was signed by a lot of the gentlemen who were there. many who are no longer with us anymore. See the chrome is pouch, the members of the Golden Commandos. Again, very early MCACN. And check out these super hard to come by 1965 super stock intake exhaust manifolds. Very neat. And this photo is a one-eye shot for Mopar Muscle Magazine back in 1992. And that'll finish up our look at the Kramer engine display here at MCACN 2024.